change is always something that causes people to recoil and go back to what they know is safe. And so I always like to do little incremental changes, nothing big. I'm working with a practice right now that is like initiating these like gigantic, dramatic changes, and the whole team is out of whack. So don't do that, but little changes, right? I think that the best opportunity for the practice right now to start to see momentum is to start to say, gee, what is a natural offer that we could add to our service list that our existing customers would come back again for? And so that's a little movement. And how do I then train my staff to deliver that product where I'm not necessarily involved with it? Could it be something as simple as a gentler treatment or a follow-up treatment, or think about the next logical thing that they're looking for in their desire to be better.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Hey guys, welcome to Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into super clinic owners. I'm one of your hosts, but I'm the only host that's going to be here with you today, Jennifer Gligoric, and we have another amazing guest that I know that you're going to get a lot of great value out of, because we're going to be talking about exit strategies. So she is the CEO of Infinite Profit. She's a business growth strategist and profit booster, TM, who helps business owners build up their business while creating killer exit strategies. So let us give a great big Super Clinic Project welcome to our guest, Marcia Riner. Welcome to the show, Marcia.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jennifer. I'm super excited about this one.
I am very excited about that. And I love talking about exits, because usually that's the thing we don't want to talk about, because we're growing a baby and we don't want to talk about our exit yet. So I know that you work with a lot of clinics. You have amazing 30-day makeover strategy where you get rapid cash in with them. But all at this time, you are strategically building them to build their wealth so they can boost their profits and create an exit. So tell me a little bit about how you got into this and what made you decide this niche.
Oh, so funny. Well, first of all, we're girls. We like to play and have treatments done and things done. And I found it just seemed like a natural niche for me to go into someplace that I was already interested in and I understood the products. So that's why I chose the clinics and the healthcare space for that. But funny enough, so my parents were both business owners, and I watched both of them exit their firms without planning, and it was a mistake. My mom even had an opportunity, a huge opportunity that she turned down because she wasn't ready to retire. She was in the mortgage business, folks, and this was pre-08, and '08 happened. 2010, she shut down 8 branches with nothing. I mean, thank goodness she was a great saver, but she didn't plan properly. And I came out of the financial planning world after mom had exited. And, I noticed that a lot of my business owner clients that I was serving plans for and designing plans for would always say that, yeah, they're going to sell their company as part of their retirement plan. My favorite question was, great, what do you think it's worth? Their answer was always this crazy Shark Tank, kind of response that I knew deep down inside that this just wasn't going to happen because they didn't have the strategies to get there. And in 2016, I left financial planning and went into the growth planning phase with that idea that I think I could help them get to that exit if they did the right stuff now, which created this kind of a double win, like more money now and a bigger payout later on. And it's turned developed, grown, turned into, I can't get my mouth to work today, but turned into this great business that allows me to help. So it's fun.
So let's talk about that. So we mostly deal with clinic owners. So put your head in, into that space, because I know you deal with a lot, and you deal with a lot of healthcare clinic owners. So when they're like, I want to sell. So when you ask them that, and they give you some outrageous number like 50 million, right? And they're not even getting 20 to 30,000 a month, much less the, $1 million, 83,000 a month that we try to work with them with. But how do you tell them, well, actually what your valuation is should be around this? So let's say if you have a clinic and they're struggling, they're going through highs and lows, and their average is about 25 to 30,000, and they're thinking they can sell it later on if they just get it to 100,000 a month. Where would the valuation with be? What is a realistic in this? So this is 2025. Just, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but we are in summer. We're going into summer of 2025 to data, so you can see for inflation. What would you say a clinics are actually going for? Because I have found that a lot of people just have no idea.
Well, you know what? And I can't value a company because I'm not a certified evaluation expert in that kind of manner. But in reality, there are several moving parts that create the value of a company when you want to sell it. And one of them is the revenue that's generating. And to answer your question, it depends on all the other factors that are incredibly important. But if you take just that one revenue strategy and you say, okay, so if I'm making 100 million, how many multiples of that should I expect? If your business is perfect and it has all the other factors going, you could get 3, 4, 5 times that factor. But we're not talking 10 times. We're not talking 20 times. We're talking lower multiples based on revenue. But when you think about it, there are so many other pieces that are incredibly important to a buyer when they want to buy your practice. And one of those is, gee, do I have a constant stream of marketing that's leading new customers to me every single month? If you don't have that, and you don't have that positive direction going, that checks a negative against the revenue that you're bringing in. Am I heavily involved? Am I the only senior practitioner in this business? That is a negative, against your revenue. And so when you start to look at these factors, right? And there's a half a dozen or more really important ones that you bring in there. But when you look at those factors, the buyer is looking at a way to say, how can I reduce the price that you're asking? And the other thing that I think is incredibly important, the practice, the owner, the founder needs to sell. The buyer wants to buy.
Yeah, those are big differences.
Really big differences. And so when we look at that, if we have everything, all the planets aligned and things are working good, you could expect a 5 multiple if you've got all the pieces coming through. So if you're making $100,000 or $1 million a year, you could expect a $5 million payout at the end. But what are the parameters that come out through that? And again, these numbers change so dramatically based on the economy, based on the buyer's market, based on the availability of funding to purchase that. And so you want to look at these kind of things and just go, wow, what could I do today to make my practice so much stronger and pay me now, so that the strategies that I'm building and putting in place are actually going to increase the value later on as well.
Yeah, because I have seen owners literally kill themselves to get their revenue up, where they are working 24/7 because they just want those financials, right? They want the financials to show that this is how much money is in there. And they never expect that the buyer will say, well, wait, but if you leave and if I step in,
I'm not going to work those kind of hours.
What is that? Yeah. What's going to look like? Could you leave your business for 4 to 6 weeks? And would your income be the same? And so many of them go, well, no, it would completely tank. Or
That's because they're in there. They're
they're the
the
only ones driving it. They don't have any systems or any processes. Yeah.
exactly. And those systems and processes and different offerings, right? So if you can imagine, okay, maybe you're in there in a clinic and you're delivering these services, right? That require you, that only you can deliver. It's understandable, right? But what other services could your practitioners deliver to support you so that when you take a 3 or 4, 6 week vacation, they're still doing revenue generating opportunity or offers to your existing clients that at least it may not be the big ticket items, but at least you have ones rolling through, right?
Yeah,
And
that's funny.
so,
Most small business owners, even the ones that that are making 83,000 to 150,000, you say 3, 4, 5, 6 week vacation, they go right because they haven't left in years.
no,
But
but
really, but you can build that into the business. You can have if you have the right systems and you
the
make
right people,
the
the
right
right
people.
offers, the right everything. Let's put it on a 3 week vacation, right? You're going to go take a beautiful cruise with your family. You're going to go do something where you relax and you don't have your laptop. You're not panicking looking at your phone every day because you trust the team that you've built and they're working on offers and solutions that are happening while you're gone. So you still have the cash register ringing. It is very simple if we think about it and plan for it.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest? Well, there are common challenges that happen with businesses. And I think a lot of them are fear based,
Mm,
like these fear based things that they won't grow when they need to, but they want to grow. And I see them hitting little walls and then they stop. They
mm,
stop progress rather than moving forward. Would you
mm.
say that is one of the more common ones, or what are some other ones besides that? That as far as those the stopping blocks, if they are growth oriented, but the things that they make, those mistakes that a lot of them seem to make time and time when they're trying to get profits. Because I see it a lot. They start to work really hard and they're building systems and then they get a bunch in and then they panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change is always something that causes people to recoil and go back to what they know is safe, right? And so I always like to do little incremental changes, right? Nothing big. I'm working with a practice right now that is like initiating these like gigantic dramatic changes and it's the whole team is out of whack. So don't do that, but little changes, right? And so where I think that the best opportunity for the practice right now to start to see momentum is to start to say, gee, what is a natural offer that we could add to our service list that our existing customers would come back again for, right? And
Mhm.
so that's a little movement. And how do I then train my staff to deliver that product where I'm not necessarily involved with it? Could it be something as simple as a gentler treatment or a follow-up treatment, or think about the next logical thing that they're looking for in their desire to be better, right? And in these clinics, I keep right now I'm totally visualizing like a med spa kind of thing, right? They come in for a treatment, right? What's the next logical thing? Maybe it's a laser, or maybe it's an injectable, or maybe it's some sort of other opportunity that would be a natural next thing.
Yeah.
And
What
that's
I
an
see
easy
is,
way.
yeah, I see a lot of, I mean, at the same time, you don't want to have shiny object syndrome. If
No, of
what
course
you're
not.
working is not, if you're not garnering with your core offer. So if you're working in a clinic and you don't have a core offer, a package to take someone to an outcome, then we're not talking to you. You have to already have your core offer
I
done
was
because you
kind of thinking, I was assuming that they already
yeah,
had that piece
yeah,
in there.
because you
Yeah.
never know. Oh, no, but people will go, that's what I thought. I wanted to bring in these 10 different machines. And yeah, yeah,
Nah.
yeah. And because it makes sense, they're all kind of the same. And then what you end up with is we've all been to that to the small town, and they're like, the post office is the travel agent, is the hot dog shop, and is the gift shop, and it's this one guy who just has decided, well, we need this too, and they're exhausted. They're this
Yeah.
husk of a person, and what they have is these 10 different businesses. So
Yeah,
you
no.
don't want to do it if it's something like that. You don't want to be med
Correct.
spa and weight loss. Are
No.
those together? Yeah, they can't be, but if you do not approach those two concepts as two different businesses and manage them like that, then you're not going to get anyone, because the weight loss people are not going to be for
Different
one.
marketing.
Yeah, it is different marketing. So just wanted to say, when she's talking about this, she's talking about if you have a core offer, just in case you didn't. I don't want any of the squirrel people to be going, oh yeah, I need to get these 10 things. But you're right. What can you add to add value to think of your ideal patient? How do we get them to their ideal better?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're not a commodity. So once you start adding that on and developing that and making sure you have a really great fulfillment journey with them, what do they need to do? Now we're still talking about exits, right? We're talking about making profits now.
Exactly.
But building towards an exit. What are the things you need to do as you build that with an idea towards an exit that you see that they often forget to do, those foundational things?
So the reason I suggested that offer, and if you remember, I said something that your practitioner might be able to help you with, right? Not something that you have to do the heavy lifting in, because one of the biggest problems, and we addressed this initially, is that if you're heavily involved and you're the linchpin inside of the company, then nobody's going to want to buy your headaches. So the idea here is to get your team developed and doing services with you, so that when you take that 3-week vacation or you wish to sell your company in the future, it's more attractive because you now have systems and people and processes and offers that don't require you to step in. So that's why that one looks and feels really good. But one of the other things that I think gets in the way of you selling your company in the future, if you remember, I said you need to have that consistent stream of marketing, bringing in new customers constantly. That's a job in itself. And I get that. There's so many different more shiny objects or squirrels that you can chase to develop your marketing. But when you have positive marketing, it leads to more new customers, a bigger list of community that you serve, a positive increasing revenue that continues to go in. And it is a system that is in place that doesn't require you to do, but yet it is very, very attractive to a buyer that knows that, hey, this engine's already in motion. We've got people coming in, and I don't have to start from scratch and go, well, I'm not Dr. Jones anymore, I'm Dr. Smith. But now Dr. Smith already has a stream of patients coming in. So that looks really attractive to the buyer coming in. Now, knowing in this kind of space in clinics, you need to have that, doctor for doctor buy, right?
Right.
You can't just have some random business person come in and buy it. They have to have some sort of license along with it. So that's why, we talk about the doctor over doctor. But yeah, I think that's another great way to build those practices. I
thought that was a great quote. I'm going to say, no one is going to buy your headache.
Oh, gosh, no.
I love that you said that, because it's just like, oh, that's so true. If you are at the point you just hate it, you're going to find it impossible to sell it, because you are not feeding that. You're hating it. You're not really there. You're checked out.
So, oh my goodness, that's a whole nother mess.
Yeah, you have to find a way to love it again, even if you have to bring other people on. But people will buy it if there's systems. I mean, when you think about franchising, it's so expensive. The lawyering alone, and just to compile your SEC, FEC or SEC report that you need. That alone costs over $100,000 just to get that one reporting done that you have to give to every potential franchisee. But
Then you
yet,
got to babysit them on top of that.
yes, but yet it's still worth it because people are
Mm.
like, I want a proven system.
Exactly. So that's Jennifer, you know how how incredibly important systems are in
Very
your
much.
business. And that's what the buyer is buying, your reputation, your positive cash flow, and your systems that they could come in and step in and continue what you started rather than having to change everything and start from scratch. If they were going to do that, they'd go do their own thing from scratch, but they want your systems. So that's another thing that is incredibly important. How your customer is treated inside your company as a system, your client journey, right? What is the offer that they're going through, and the next offer and the next offer and the next offer? That's another part of a system. How structure your payments and manage your team, that's a system. How you pay and receive money system. There's thousands of systems. And if it's all up here in your head, Jennifer, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just all you, then nobody can do it. You have to. And now with AI, it's not like you have to sit there and really type. You can just sit, you can literally go text or voice to AI and say, okay, now, or even you can record yourself doing it. Like sometimes one of the things I utilize, I have my own AI that helps just me for what I do. And I'll have whole meetings and then I'll have the AI take it and give me a synopsis of the meeting and put out all the notes and do that. That normally would have taken me hours. We're talking 4 to sometimes 8 hours to listen to hours worth of calls and then take out the bullet points. What did they say?
Exactly.
What this and do this. And now that can be done. You have the ability. I would highly recommend. There's a million different AIs. There's Fathom.ai. I forget. Was it you? Somebody just turned me on to Fathom. That's one that you can use. There is Centra AI. That's the one that I particularly love for me. And there's just a bunch that you can utilize just to do things like this, to create these systems. And then suddenly you have it written down, put it on Google, and only give your people and just say, hey, this is where everything's at, and it's compiled.
Here's another strategy that I like to do is your people are already doing something repeated every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's them to write it down.
Yes.
Why are you trying to create all the systems? You're the owner of the clinic. The people that are already doing the processes, have them document it. Give them an hour each month, each week to improve a process. And when they have that process, then you now have something that's written down that in case Susie leaves, when Jill comes in, Jill takes over Susie's system because it was already built.
Yes. And it's not just for that, the first thing people are going to do is, well, job security. I don't want anyone to know. So,
no.
Which is
ridiculous.
They're not a team player, right? So, and at the same time, but if you foster a good enough culture, then you can say, I need this because don't you ever want to take a vacation? If we have this, I can get a temp in. I can literally call a temp agency and say, read this document, follow this, just do everything that's in this video that she recorded. And now you don't have to worry that somebody's going on maternity leave or someone's kid is sick. And when you have a workplace that really fosters that and they see you letting them go and you have the systems in to where you can easily get people in, well, that's not a job you want to leave, because look at how many clinics that, and from the clinic workers that go there, the good ones leave because, well, my child had his, this one in a thing recital, and it just happened to be, of course, in the middle of the day, and they wouldn't let me off, and I ended up just quitting. Because this is a once in a lifetime thing to see this thing for this kid, right? That they had worked so hard for. And I mean, I get it. There's the business, but then once you have systems, the ones that have systems are a lot more flexible. Their people are more happy, and then you get a lot more engagement. They come up with solutions instead of just complain.
Exactly.
Just can make a lot of difference.
And here's the exit piece for having a system. I I too have a podcast, and I interviewed someone that gave me a theoretical valuation on your systems. And he shared with me that it has proven to have a 30% boost in exit value when you have your systems documented and flowing, meaning they're not just documented, but the team is working together with them. So that's super valuable.
Yeah, 30% is
Oh my
huge.
goodness,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's a significant bump because, again, depending on the buyer coming in, the buyer wants a well-oiled engine that's running smoothly. And the people that know where the skeletons are in the closet and how to run the business without you. And then they can step in and be you temporarily or permanently, and it still runs smooth. So that's how valuable systems are on exit. And what's valuable on exit means it's valuable right now as well. Because now you can take a vacation, she can take a vacation, and the business continues to run based on expectations that you've set.
Yeah, and you're happier and you're
Ah,
making more money,
yep.
and you can now think of different, and you start to have bigger but better problems or challenges that you can work on when that happens. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, guys, we've been talking to Marcia Riner. So, Marcia, before we go, I do have something else, but please tell people where they can find you. I want to make sure we get that before we
Oh,
last
excellent.
question.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. So I'm all over social. I'm constantly talking about growth strategies. I have a podcast myself, Profit with a Plan. But I think where I like to send people, my company is Infinite Profit, and if you add consulting on the end, that's the URL for it. But really, truly, is it okay if I share a gift?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. We love gifts at
Okay,
Super
great.
Clinic Project. We
Well,
love it.
I got really excited one day and I wrote down a bunch of ideas that started out as kind of like a 1 or 2 page, opportunity to just share some ideas. And I turned it into like a mini novella. It's literally 26 pages, but it's got really, really juicy ideas that are based on 5 key strategies. And those key strategies are profit boosters, cash flow, growth strategies that work, tools and tips that are working, and tracking. And if you look at these kind of pieces and the subcategories underneath it, again, I just went a little crazy, but I assure you, if you go there and you look at it, it's free. It's got all this information. You're going to get at least one idea, if not a half a dozen, that you can put into your practice right now and start to see results. And so I'm a huge giver, and that's where I've written 3 books, and this turned out to be a little mini novella out of some of the ideas. But if you go to boostingprofit.com, you can download that mini novella, I keep calling it, but it is super valuable. And it's just a thank you, Jennifer, for having me on the show. And I think your audience would appreciate it.
I am very excited about that because we of course we can all, everybody can go to Super Clinic Project. You can go to our school, and we'll also have the link embedded in school along with her episode once you go to that. So you'll be able to find it no matter where you want to where you go. But I'm glad and I'm very excited for us. And I'm going to download it too because it's very validating because those 5 things, including the tracking, which I'm a broken record on our other episodes of that, if you can do that, it makes the biggest difference. It makes the biggest difference.
Well, if you don't, funny enough on the tracking, if you don't look at the data, how can you make decisions? And if you don't have good, clean data, then the decisions are going to be crappy. So it's that garbage in is garbage out kind of story. So, I'm a big thing on financial data, business data, looking at your numbers. Where were we last month? Where do we have to be this month? And that's what a good practice management tool is going to give you, is how to say, this means X, and therefore now I can do Y and Z. Yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah, it's just setting a goal and tracking the goal. I mean, you can say, I just want all my patients or all my clients to love me. I want them to know that we love them the most. That's great. How will you know that? What would
Exactly.
occur for you to be able to know that? Right. So how do you know you've hit that or not? Well, they're going to review us. Okay, good. So how many reviews would you need to be able to really feel that you've hit that? Well, I would have 100 Google reviews. Okay, where are we at right now? We're at
3.
15, or 3, right? Okay, great. So how do you think we can foster that more to get people that we know who haven't reviewed us yet to love it, right? So there's always a way you can track it and put things in place and
Yeah.
sit with the team and say, don't forget to ask them and do that. And that's how if they love you. There's always something.
I knew this was going to be such a great episode because we think so much alike, Jennifer. I mean, it's
Yes.
like, wow, right? So your audience is getting so many good ideas. They've got everything that you offer in your school, and just a little sprinkle from me just says, yeah, this is exactly what we need.
No,
And
no,
so,
go, because she told me how big it was. And I'm like, this is great. So you're going to go to boostingprofit.com.
yes,
And again, we've been talking to Marcia. That's Marcai, or yeah,
CIA.
CIA. Riner, Riner. And I'm just so excited that you've been here. She's with Infinite Profit,
Yes.
and you've been an incredible guest. So thank you so
Thank you so
much
much.
for sharing. And this went by like that.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
It
That's
did. So
that's the good ones do because it's a conversation. And when two great minds are sitting next to each other and sharing ideas, then it just kind of goes poof. Wow, that went fast.
yeah, it did. It went by, but everything that you guys have been hearing has been a universal truth. So even if you're not a healthcare owner, you're just like in a service base or whatever business you are, everything she said is still very applicable.
Very much so.
So thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here, my Super Clinic Project peeps. And be sure to like, comment, and share. You can go to Super Clinic Project and do it all from there. So superclinicproject.com. And again, we have been with Marcia Riner. And thank you guys again. And y'all have a great week.
You've been listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast. If you like what you hear, subscribe and stay tuned for further episodes of the Super Clinic Project podcast.